We're going to break down the kettlebell snatch right now. Now, realize that with a kettlebell snatch or any of the other similar versions of kettlebell exercises where it's ballistic and you're swinging the bell, you could do a whole weekend seminar on one or two of those movements. They are rather complicated and they do take time to learn. What we're going to do is look at just a couple of common mistakes that come up all the time when somebody is learning a kettlebell snatch. Now, if you are trying a kettlebell snatch for the first time, it means that you should have gone through the fundamentals of learning how to handle a kettlebell, how to hold it, how to hip hinge properly, how to swing the kettlebell safely, and that probably has led you to other variations from a kettlebell swing to a one-armed kettlebell swing to maybe even a kettlebell swing where you catch it in a clean position. Those are kind of fundamental prerequisites, if you will, to the kettlebell snatch. The kettlebell snatch is similar in the fact that you're swinging it. However, we're going up overhead with it and we're catching the bell. Okay, so it's more complicated. So let's look at a few things that I think are super important when you're learning how to do this. Let me show you a few repetitions. I'm going to start with the bell out in front of me here, and I'm going to backswing it right into my first snatch. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we say kettlebell snatch. So let me show you now from the side and point out a few things. When you are performing a kettlebell snatch, I want you to try to imagine the arc that the kettlebell is traveling. So think about where the kettlebell is moving, okay? If you start here in the backswing, I come out of the backswing, okay, and the bell is traveling in an arc until eventually that arc ends in the catch position. If that arc happens to be too big, meaning far away from my body this way and far away from my body this way, okay, so like the height of the arc. If the arc is too large, it starts to create problems. So one of the cues that we use is try and tame the arc, meaning you're making a smaller arc and you're keeping the kettlebell closer to your body. And once you figure out how to do that, it really helps with the mechanics of the exercise. So let me show you what happens or what it even looks like when we don't tame the arc. So first, what I'm going to show you is what it looks like when the kettlebell gets too far out in front of me because our arc is too deep relative to where I am. Okay, did you see how I had to step forward? Let's look at that again. Okay, my arc is so big that the kettlebell is actually pulling me forward, causing me to lose my balance and have to take a step forward. Okay, that means that I did not do a good job of taming the arc in terms of the depth here. And what I need to do is keep tension through my upper body, packing my shoulder back a little bit so that even though the kettlebell is pulling me forward a little bit, I have good control over the bell and I'm not following it forwards. So when I do that, it basically makes a smaller arc, and that makes it a lot easier to control. Now, if I make too tall of an arch, okay, what happens is the bell wants to travel up. And in doing so, when the bell transitions over for the catch position, it goes up so high and then slam. That's when people complain of the bell hitting their wrist because it's very uncomfortable. Here's what it looks like. Crash, right? Doesn't feel good. The arc's too big. Crash. And what happens is it's very jarring. The bell comes over the top, crashes, and I have to stabilize, and it really doesn't feel good on my shoulder either. So think about taming the arc. The smaller the arc, tension through the upper body, bell is pretty close. What happens is we get up to about here, and the bell is starting to make its transition over the top. This is a timing thing. As the bell eventually lands into the catch position, all I have to do is punch up. And generally, I grip a little bit before I relax my hand. Gripping sort of slows down the kettlebell. And this is really a timing thing because my arm is arriving in the lockout position at the same time that the bell is arriving in the catch position. This is a big skill involved with the kettlebell snatch. And what's going to happen to you if you're first learning this is you're going to have many repetitions where the bell crashes down. Don't worry, that's just part of the progression. Eventually, you're going to figure out the timing because timing with this is everything. Once you do figure out the timing, you'll notice that the catch becomes a lot softer, and because you're doing the right things, you're protecting your forearm and it's no longer crashing. Sometimes people, when they're first learning, they like to wear some kind of material, like if you have a sweatshirt on, just the sleeve of your sweatshirt may help you so it's not nailing you so bad. Sometimes people will wear like, bracelets of some kind, like padded bracelets, tennis bracelets, things like that, just because the bell's hitting them. I don't really encourage people to do that very often, just because, honestly, the discomfort of it is a great teacher. So if you can feel that the bell is jarring and it's hitting you and it's uncomfortable, you need to make some adjustments and you'll figure it out. Stay with lightweight until you do. Let me show you some good repetitions from the side here. So I start from the floor, I hike it right into the first one, and I catch. And then I like to hike it to slow it down, decelerate it, boom. And then it goes right back to where it started. Okay, so again, there's so much you could cover with the kettlebell snatch. Those are some really important principles that you want to learn and start to play with as you progress through this journey of learning how to do a kettlebell snatch. In my experience, it's probably the movement that takes people the longest. But again, as long as you have done the fundamentals, learned how to hip hinge, learned how to swing a kettlebell with two arms, then maybe learned how to do it with one arm, and maybe you've learned how to swing and clean the bell, okay? You're probably in a pretty good place to start to learn the kettlebell snatch, provided that your shoulders are in good health and you can go overhead with relative ease. So keep those things in mind as good prerequisites before you get here, and good luck.